Hey guys, welcome back to DayZ, and I'm in beta. This is on the stable branch, so not experimental. And what I thought I'd do is have a look at civilian loot. Tips, tricks, best places to find the best loot. So let's get started. So firstly, probably the best place that is easily accessible to get some really good loot fairly easily with little opposition are these guard posts. You see them all over the game, all over the map. They're on the edge of industrial areas. They used to have bits and pieces in, but now if they're not looted, you're virtually guaranteed a gun. For example, you have an MP5 here. And what else have we got? We've got some grips, handrails and whatnot. Here's another one. Let's have a look. Uniform. Also got the mag for the MP5, which is cool. And what else have we got here? We've got canned spaghetti. So you get food as well. Pistol suppressor. Very nice. So I have on a fair few occasions found Mosins in this industrial building here. Up in this room. There's one on the floor here. Now, I also find ammo in here sometimes. So it's not a bad little place to check, and you can see there's some building material here, sheet metal. Let's see, I'm back at this industrial unit, and upstairs, weapon spawning point. As I say, I find Mosins here, but we've got a CR75 in there. Now, I've seen those less in police stations, so they've pushed this spawn out into other zones such as this building. It's fair to say in beta that lots of garages and sheds, they're good for items. I mean, you've got lots of items in some of these. Like in here, there's 5 items. A range of stuff. Clothing, you've got the full, you've got the jumpsuit that's new in game, protective case, and a melee weapon. It's just that lots of these places, although they can set you up with stuff like that, there isn't really too much else going on in them. There are a fair few items which are pretty useless at the moment, and I'm finding less ammo in garages because of the extra spawning of these, what you might call useless items. Now, you've always been able to find loot at these fishing boats. Well, you can now find food. Used to be things like netting and stuff like that, but now, at the moment, it seems to be things like cans of cola, cans of food. Got a can of sardines there. I also picked up this can of spaghetti. Now I'm at the shipwreck, Reefy, near Berezino, and the situation for loot in this big old hulk has changed. We have some military loot spawning. Yep, wasn't really going to be covering military loot in this video, but seeing this as a civilian location, you may as well have a look at it. And you can see here we've got 3 pieces of clothing. And in some of the decks we have some ammo and some other military items spawning, and that does include outside, so you've got to keep your eyes peeled. More clothing, you've got a gas mask over here if you like that sort of thing. As a general rule in game, you will find the shotgun and the rifle, this one here, the BK-18, single shot break action hunting rifle, in a range of locations. It spawns in a lot of houses, and if you spend some time just searching through, say, 10, 20, 30 houses, the chances are, if it's an unlooted server or area, you will find a rifle. Now the same goes for ammo. It does spawn in random places. There are increased chances in certain locations. One of them I picked up earlier, that industrial area. But generally, if you look around, you will find a rifle and ammo. And in fact, you'll find a range of ammo just from civilian locations, these houses. If you just keep looking around, eventually you'll get yourself a loaded weapon. Interestingly as well, some buildings have very little loot in. So for example, this office building used to spawn guns and clothing, whereas now there's very little, maybe one item of clothing, one kind of random item. I found very little in these. The same goes for cafes. I find these very disappointing now. Hardly find any loot in these. Piano houses, pretty much the same, although you can find the occasional gun spawn. There's a Makarov here, the IJ-70. Funnily enough, one of the best places I find is this building here. It's this 2-story townhouse, and you find them lined up with these other tall buildings, and it's just got the one room. I'm finding inside this room, sometimes I'm getting like a knife, there's a shirt, a jacket, and more importantly, ammo. So we've got some slugs here, and just inside this small space. Another good tip, something that's overlooked, is that guns do spawn on top of these little shacks, particularly this one. Some cows in the background. If you look up here, there's a rifle on top of the roof here. BK-18. Of course, the types of gun are limited at the moment, so I'd imagine once the game goes live, Christmas, into 1.0, there'll be more guns, different guns spawning in these locations, so it's worth noting these locations now. At the moment, the new police station doesn't have much loot in, just a couple of items, but I suspect when we go to full release at Christmas, there will be more loot in this location, and it will become more of a focus point for activity. So that one's coming up. Another nifty little tip is these temples or little tombs. Little, I don't know what you call these things, little mausoleums or something. Now in this location we have got spawning here some ammo, 7.62, very handy, and 3 other items. So just in that little spot there, picked up some ammo for my Mosin. Trains in beta, for me, as far as loot is concerned, are quite disappointing. I mean, there are a fair few items, but they tend to be car related or industrial type items, whereas I don't think I've ever found any ammo in these locations anymore. And there's clothing, things like the generator. Now, it's all very well if you're trying to run a car or set your base up. So that's where you come best, probably one of the best locations if you want to get stuff for houses or your base, now that they've introduced that into game. Generators. Yeah. You've got your mesh barriers, things like that. Torch. Yeah, you got your pickaxe. Okay, that's a handy weapon. Burlap sack. Again, if you want to make a backpack. So, as I say, I haven't found much ammo It's more industrial stuff, backpacks, clothing. Now the Northeast Airfield, which used to be cool, still has a few bits of loot in the base and food. Yeah, look, there's some 7.62 ammo there. But the main reason why you might want to come over here is because there's 4 military crates over here. And there's a fair few zombies, actually, that respawn. But these spawn military kit in a civilian location. So you've got boonies, you've got netting here. I got the field backpack. That's pretty cool. So I'm in the Novo Tower, the hotel, and just double checking on the loot situation. Now there hasn't been a lot of loot in this location for quite a few patches now, and it looks like the same again. I mean, I don't get up here very often, but it does appear they still haven't put loot in here. Now I'm kind of hopeful that they will, because it used to be a great spot to come pick up some rifles. Got the radio up here as well, the broadcaster. And it's a real shame, because you used to get quite a lot of loot up here. Okay, so there's my summary of the civilian loot side of things. And I've got to say, there's a lot less loot in places like industrial locations, up high. Used to be loot up in places like that. You can get the occasional bit, but really nothing of significance. And the best places I'm finding is just kind of generally rummaging through houses, picking up the rifles that way, picking out those hot spots which I've already mentioned in the video, like the guard post at the entrance to industrial areas, such as this one here. Police stations are still pretty weak, but I suspect that come the full release there will be a buff and we'll get more loot appearing in some of the key locations like police stations. So okay guys, there's my guide to civilian loot in DayZ Beta. I hope you found it useful. If you did, click the thumbs up. If you haven't subbed already, it'd be awesome if you could, and I will catch up with you very soon. Thanks again for watching.